Good evening, Wilbert Cook, a Hand Up Recovery Home CEO. I'm back again live with another guest. We're doing just tremendous now. We're on a roll. And this guest has been around since before the inception of a Hand Up Recovery Homes. Matter of fact, he's been around actually for the inception of dozens of groups across the West Side, South Side, City of Chicago, and the west suburbs. And he has really got a body of work from various stages of working with law firms, help people with housing issues, property issues, personal issues. So he's worked in housing, he's worked in civic court. And as you know, last week we had Judge Murray, who helps try to expedite situations through the housing court whenever needed, and or make sure people get treated fairly by the landlords in housing courts. And in some cases, he may have to make sure the landlords are treated fairly by some of what we have now is rogue tenants that uses laws to protect good tenants. Many of them now, you got the bad tenants like to use them against the actual landlords in their favor because they don't want to do right. It's sad, but it happens. However, Dennis has did a lot of things. He's helped with various recovery-based programs to help people with addiction, from substance abuse, cocaine, heroin, alcohol, gambling even, and probably a few with shopping addictions, whether they want to admit it or not, because Lord knows some of the sisters and women in the world, they may not claim it, but they have some shopping addictions. I hate to think about the $300 purses that may be in the back of the closet because something better came along that they liked in there before they used it. However, that's good for sometimes the thrift shops later because they may actually donate some of that years down the road when they clean the closet. However, he's also helped with various programs to reduce recidivism throughout the city and especially on the west side. And so without further ado, I'll let him get the rest of his bio. Dennis Gary.
Thank you, Brother Cook, Reverend Cook. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me to come on this show with you. Again, like you said, my name is Dennis Gary. I'm a minister in the AME Church. Been playing music for, I guess, over 30 years now. Oh, I sound so old. I'm old.
At least 30.
I started playing the piano in 1988. So, like, I started playing at least 30 years. Lord Jesus. I just turned, 51 last year.
Okay.
So, working in the church and working has exposed me to a lot of situations where I've become involved with nonprofits. Law was always my passion, so I went to paralegal school at Robert Morris. They had the paralegal program, so I took that program, started working in law firms. I actually started with bankruptcy law and criminal law, and that was an exciting time to be able to, work in a law firm for me. I've worked my way all around law firms. I've been a litigation paralegal. I've worked in bankruptcy, criminal, landlord, tenant, medical malpractice, those type of things. And then, of course, in the nonprofit industry, like you said, with recovery, working on gun violence reduction, and most recently I'm working with WCDC on the west side, which is trying to provide affordable housing to people in our community. Also, I'm working with Operation Push on some things right now, and just trying to help our community get a better grasp on the day-to-day needs that we are going through. Growing up on the west side, of course, what other better side of town to be on, but just all around. I just try to be a person of service, So if you know me, you know I like to work behind the scenes, and I'm typically always willing to help.
Right. Yeah, and thank you for coming on the show. Dennis, it's been a while trying to get you on here for our schedules to actually synchronize. So I'm glad you fit us in because you did have a family emergency this week that could have kept you from being here. However, your commitment to service, you made it anyway, and I'm glad you did. But also, that's something you may want to touch on at some point tonight, because you have helped me, family members, people in our programs, people throughout the churches, and others. And we did have your friend, Pastor Creer, on a few weeks ago talking about the whole dynamic of grief.
Yes.
And so that's something we're pivoting to do more of because we believe it's a underlying, like drugs and selling drugs is underlying factors to the violence. We believe unresolved grief is a silent killer.
Man.
It's causing people to kill because they have not healed. And I don't think we valued that enough in all the models I've heard about dealing with violence. Rarely are they really talking about helping people. Now, of course, when they get in counseling and things, many of the counselors will pick it out and figure out that, hey, I need to work on this client with this grief thing that appears to be unresolved. But often the programs don't set up to go in immediately to start helping with that, or as Pastor Creer talked about, sometimes it's a week or two or longer before people even get out of the shock phase
Yes.
and start grieving. And they definitely oftentimes don't really start grieving, as we know, until, the day of a service. That finality that comes with it, sometime then the floodgates start opening. So there are so many things that you have helped with, you can help with, you continue to help with. And of course, housing. We did temporary housing for years, and now you're helping do more affordable housing. Eventually, we want to pivot there also. It is great to have you. And I guess the thing I would say is, what are some of the challenges and some of the triumphs you've seen as you've helped people recover from addiction, whether it's the substance abuse, the alcohol, and or gambling or other addictions?
To me, the biggest problem, the biggest problem and asset, I guess, would be the same thing, is whether or not a person actually recognizes that they have an addiction. It's real easy to address an addiction when somebody recognizes and wants help.
Right.
Just because people like to feel good, or what they think makes them feel good, or not realizing that they're responding to triggers that cause them to say, hey, I'm in a position where I can't handle it, I'm in a position of depression, and this quick high, or quick fix, will help me get over, whatever situation that I'm going through. And on the same token, when people don't recognize that they have addictive behaviors, so I was glad that we went through a gamut of things. Drugs, yes. People are addicted to cocaine, what they call meth, the new Tina, heroin, drug, weed, fentanyl, acid, alcohol. All of those are the common ones that we tend to look down our noses on. Ooh, you're a drug addict, you're a crackhead or something like that. But there's addictive behaviors that's the same thing. So you can be addicted to shopping, like you said. You can be addicted to gambling. You can be addicted to sex. You can be addicted to food. A lot of people don't want to say food. Yeah, I said food. Look, food is one of my challenges too, because I realize that I comfort eat.
Right.
And so, like, they're like, even in that's an addiction. That's a trigger. Like, oh, I'm in this position and I don't know how to address the issue, so I'm going to eat so I can feel comfortable, so I can feel good about the situation that I'm in, and all of those things. And let me say this also: we're not demeaning or demonizing anyone who is in addiction, but it's also good to recognize that you are in an addiction. Look at these triggers and look at these traits, because we can look at people and say, oh, I don't want that person. But the reason you don't want to be associated with that person is because of the characteristics that cause them to be addicted to those substances. And we have a lot of those same characteristics in the glorified addictions that a lot of people don't look at or talk about. Just because someone's addiction is not illegal doesn't mean that it's good for them.
Right. Definitely. Good
And like you said, and I know we covered a lot of things tonight already. With grief, people can become addicted to the way they feel during the grieving period, and they will use sometimes, and we both experienced this. Remember the conversation we had previously, that someone actually was like, they tried to use it as an excuse. I'm grieving,
Right.
And but yes, we understand that you're grieving. The fact that you understand that you're grieving should not be an excuse for us to allow you to behave a certain way just because you're going through it. And that's the same thing with an addiction. It shouldn't be an excuse because we know you have an addiction. Let's see what we can do to get that addiction, that trigger, turned around so that you're not just doing something that's detrimental to you, but we can turn that around when you're going through the recovery process and build you up. So that now when you face a difficult chance, you say, no, I'm not going to go give me no sweets and stuff like that to munch on to try to make myself feel good. Or I'm not going to go and pick up that drug that, feeds my dopamine levels to make me feel good in my mind or to get me over this small crisis. Let me look at something else that's more wholesome. Let me listen to some music. Let me meditate. Let me go do a spa day. You know what I'm saying? Right. There's so many different things that can help us get over the triggers that cause us to want to grasp a hold of those addictive behaviors.
Definitely. Thank you for mentioning that. And we know that denial, another word for not recognizing or wanting to recognize, because oftentimes you're on that spiral down, and that was not the spiral or the level you wanted. Most of us really know we were seeking a higher level, different income level, education, opportunities in life, and then we start on that spiral down because of various addictions, or you get paralyzed. I think the eating can paralyze you. Emotional situations can paralyze you where you get stuck wherever you at when you get overcome by that, or when you start using it for excuse not to move forward rather than trying to heal from it, rather than seeking help to heal from it. But I think the other important piece is that it causes sometimes people to then, because of the pain sometime of dealing with the negative perception, inward negative perception we have of ourselves, going through crisis or going through addiction or going, and then the negative perception we sometimes get from society, I think helps us become angry, frustrated, disappointed. And if those emotions aren't handled properly, I believe too often they get the snowball in our communities and communities of poverty, community where getting mental, emotional health is not, is just, the stigma is just being removed.
I was going to say, excuse me.
Go right ahead.
I was going to say, to that point, the shame, that's another term that we can use for that.
Yes,
the inward shame of what we think of ourselves, I shouldn't be this way. How someone else going to look at me? I done made a mistake. Especially after you decided to seek help in recovery. And then sometimes you make a slip. You fall. If you're climbing up a mountain, you're going to slip. Every step is not going to be a firm step. You're going to slip. Rocks are going to slide off from under you. But what you do, you hold on and you kick in. And you use that as a stepping stone. Say, I don't go that route anymore. I use this as a lesson and go on up. We have to, and you said mental illness. There is so much. There's not just a one and all. There is an umbrella of things that need to be adhered to when we're looking at trying to overcome recovery and going through recovery and trying to overcome addiction. There's just an umbrella of things, and we use the shame, and then the other most important thing, and I think is so relevant with those who are going through overcoming addiction and going through recovery is a support system.
Definitely.
Those people who have an understanding and an empathetic heart towards what you are going to, because everybody has something that they're going through. And I always say this: if you tell me you don't have something that you're going through, I can guarantee you got two. The first thing is that you're lying to yourself. I mean, because everybody's going through something. It doesn't have to be a financial thing. It doesn't have to be an addiction thing. But it could be a self-esteem thing. It can be you're not the number one student in the class. There's all sorts of things that people are going through. I'm not the oldest child. I'm not the youngest child. I'm the middle child. People go through all sorts of things.
Definitely.
But we have to put out, as your parents would say, put your big boy drawers on and, tighten up and become responsible for our actions. We have to learn through self-examination. Most importantly of everything else, you cannot control how other people act towards you, but you can control how you respond. And if you are serious about recovery, this is one of the most important things I try to tell myself in everyday life. If you are serious about recovery, be serious about controlling how you respond to negative triggers.
Definitely.
When people come to you with that stuff that you know is triggering, and again, this is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. And don't be ashamed to think that you have to overcome everything overnight. Recovery is a process. Deliverance is a process. Becoming better is a process. We become better every single day. Our goal is to become better one day at a time, one step at a time. And that's why I love the 12-step recovery program, because it's laid out. Let's just take this one step today and then try to take the second step to the next day. Let's go through the process. It's a laid out process for you to help you overcome addiction. And when you have that 12-step program, you have those who are in the program also going through those steps with you and telling you, hey, I was there where you are. You can make it. You can make it. You might think you're the worst one, but there's always somebody else who is worse off than you. I promise you it is. And so, I can talk all
Yeah,
day.
well, that's okay. You the guest, so and I'm learning to yield to the guest. As far as if you're gonna do a show, and you get to do it regular, you should share the airtime with your guests. But anyway, I think we have a good segue going and a good dialogue going, and I think right now the next segue would be growing up on the West Side, growing up in the city of Chicago. Be one of the other contributing factors now to violence is family history. History of being ex-offenders, history of being in the penitentiary, and the gang lifestyles. And it used to be, and the lady mentioned that today at the Urgency of Now campaign that's kicked off this morning to address all the negative impacts in government now to roll back centuries of advances for different groups, women,
Yes.
minorities, and others. But the fact that many of these groups we call gangs now started as community service organizations, started as protectors of the community. So the reality is, but now since they have gone negative and been portrayed as even more negative by the media, and we got this group of people living outside that norm. You're in a poor community, now you out of the arc of people working families, but you in the hustling families where they sell drugs and things and do other nefarious things to make a living, because the decay of the organized positive groups have been taken over by negative factors, and people who want to make more money instead of protect the community, they'll destroy the community in the name of money
Corporate
and
interests.
power. So, what are some of the ways you have helped people transition from the criminal lifestyle and from their fights with the law to reduce their recidivism rates, which you work with me on, as well as to help them avoid going down that road and also turning around if they stumble and or choose that road, how you help them turn it around?
Well, the first thing that I try to do is this. I remember that I grew up on the west side, and both my parents were drug addicted. Ever since I was a little child, all I can remember was both my parents were drug addicts. So growing up and knowing how that environment was growing up, I had a very jaded outlook on drug dealers and drug addicts and things like that because I always received the negative end of that. But remember also that I said earlier today that we have to learn how to control how we respond. And so then I started talking to people who have been drug addicts. I started talking to people who sold drugs. And then if you listen to these people, they find that they have no other choice. And so when you start talking and befriending people, the worst thing, I grew up on the west side. I did get out the west side for about 10 years prior to 2018. I moved out to Wheaton. But what I discovered is you can't live in the suburbs and try to tell somebody how to live on the west side. It's very difficult for me to tell you not to sell drugs, not to be in a fight with the other drug dealers on the block or on the next neighborhood, on the next street, and then get in my car or get on the metro and go back out to Wheaton, where they got 5 deaths, 1 murder in 5 years. You know what I mean? Well, but in our community, my Lord, we had almost one a month.
Yeah.
So what I did was I started talking to the guys on the block. Why are you out here? What's going on? What put you out here in this situation? How can I help you change? And when I moved back to the city in 2018, I really even think about this, so it's making me a little emotional. I was working with a staffing agency, went through and got every drug dealer on the block, remember, jobs. Everyone. What you want to do? Let me help you get a job. Let me help you change that situation. It is so important that we as people, I don't care if you young, old, support and encourage one another to do better. When we can look back and say, hey, you helped me out. I run into guys all the time who are out there on our block selling in a restaurant. Hey, you don't remember me? You don't remember me? And I'm like, no, I don't. Man, you helped me get off the street selling drugs. Man, you helped me start a business. One drug dealer is now cutting hair, got his own barbershop. Not selling drugs anymore, not running. And that's a testimony to the power of self. When you make up your mind and you're determined that you want to go forward and go to the next level and be a better individual for yourself and family, things will start to change for you. And I really encourage everybody who watches and listens to this show, start talking to, you see those guys out there on your street. Start talking to them. Find out what put them out there. Tell them you got kids in this house that want to come outside and play. And the fact that they out here doing this is a detriment to your children and your family. Talk to them and let them understand that, because they can also understand what they had to go through being in the same situation. And they'll tell you their story, and they'll give you respect and try to move on and move on down the block. This is what we started doing. They started moving on down the block. Hey, can I help you get a job? Thanksgiving. Why y'all out here? How come you're not at home with your mom or your dad? Your children have something to eat? Direct them to the food pantry so they can get a good Thanksgiving meal, a good Christmas meal. What school do your kids go? getting tutored, direct them to those programs that can help them, especially in this time and day and age where the social constructs are seen to be deconstructed, meaning they're going after SNAP in the media, and they're going after all sorts of different things in our community. We have to stick together more now than we ever did so that we can come out on top as a community. And once we continue to come together, make ourselves better, we make our communities better by virtue of working together.
And that's what we believe in, giving a hand up. That's what a hand up recovery home has always done. Not a handout, but a hand up. We direct you to services and opportunities, and Dennis has laid it out very well. We listen, and we try to then find solutions for you. So we look forward to talking to you next week. We plan to have another great guest that does a lot of work in the community. And continue to listen to us, guide you and direct you to opportunities, and know we support your change
Yes.
for a better life and saving your family from disaster.